The skies darkened as a massive fleet of alien ships descended from the heavens, blocking out the sun. People across the world stood frozen, staring up in disbelief. The ships were unlike anything humanity had ever seen. Sleek, angular, and otherworldly, glowing with an eerie, pulsing light. As they moved, they released a chilling, harmonious hum that sent shivers down the spines of everyone who heard it. Communication was the first thing to go. Satellites crashed to Earth, and military radar systems fell silent. Governments scrambled to respond, but it was too late. The invaders, with their advanced technology, were far ahead of humanity's capabilities. Within hours of arrival, alien craft swooped down on major cities, unleashing deadly energy beams that turned skyscrapers to rubble. The death toll was catastrophic. Whole cities were leveled in minutes, as if they were mere toys in the hands of a malevolent force. The world was in chaos. Panic spread across the globe like wildfire, and emergency broadcast systems blared frantically, their messages of hope drowned out by the sounds of explosions in the distance. National governments declared martial law, but their efforts were largely futile. The alien forces didn't need to engage in full combat. Just the shock and awe of their superiority was enough to paralyze humanity's defenses. At the United Nations headquarters in New York, world leaders watched helplessly as the alien fleet took control of Earth's most strategic points. The initial reports suggested no intent to communicate, only to conquer. Earth's military forces, no matter how brave or well-equipped, were helpless against the overwhelming might of the invaders. Fighter jets and missiles were destroyed mid-flight, while laser weapons turned tanks into molten metal. For the first time in human history, it seemed like the planet was on the verge of complete annihilation. But amid the devastation, there were flickers of defiance. A scientist in Tokyo, watching the sky light up with the flash of incoming alien fire, noticed something strange. One of the alien ships emitted a brief pulse of energy that interfered with communications, disrupting the flow of information between other ships in the fleet. It was a small opening, an anomaly in their otherwise flawless coordination. Her team quickly pieced together that the invaders weren't invincible. There was something human intelligence could exploit. The alien technology wasn't perfect, and their reliance on it made them vulnerable. The scientist, Dr. Mai Tanaka, began working on a theory, a last-ditch plan to fight back. But time was running out. As she put her theory to work, a growing sense of unity began to emerge among Earth's survivors. Even as alien forces systematically decimated cities, pockets of human resistance started to form. A military commander in Paris organized civilians to fight back in the streets. Rebel fighters in the American Midwest started to rally, using old, outdated weapons to pick off alien stragglers. Though Earth was on its knees, humanity's will to survive ignited a fire that could not be easily extinguished. Amidst the rubble and despair, the first glimmer of hope emerged. The aliens had underestimated the most dangerous weapon humanity possessed: its indomitable spirit. As the alien forces continued their relentless onslaught, the world was plunged into darkness. The bright lights of civilization were replaced by the somber glow of fires, wreckage, and the occasional flicker of emergency lights. Nations crumbled under the sheer weight of the alien invasion, and those who had once been powerful stood in the shadows of their broken cities. But amid the chaos, a new force was quietly gathering: humanity's last hope. The resistance began to form in the forgotten corners of the world. There was no single leader, no single nation in control. Instead, the movement spread like wildfire, fueled by the will of individuals. It was a patchwork of soldiers, scientists, hackers, and ordinary citizens, bound together by a single, unshakable purpose: survival. Dr. Mai Tanaka, the scientist who had discovered the aliens' technological vulnerability, now became a key figure in this underground network. With her knowledge of the aliens' weak points, she spearheaded the creation of a rudimentary weapon that could disrupt the alien ship's energy fields. It was an improvised, dangerous weapon, far from perfect, but it was humanity's first real countermeasure. With the resistance growing stronger, Tanaka's team worked in secrecy to refine her design, knowing that every moment counted. Elsewhere, in a makeshift command center deep within a mountain in the Swiss Alps, General James Corbin of the United States Army led a small coalition of international forces. The alien invasion had torn through the heart of many world powers, but Corbin was a tactician by nature. While the alien forces were formidable, he knew they could be beaten. He had seen how the invaders' arrogance had made them blind to the unpredictability of human behavior. They didn't understand how humans adapted and fought back when cornered. "We've been outmatched in technology," Corbin said to his team, his voice resolute. "But we've still got something they don't. We're relentless. We'll hit them where it hurts." His words were met with a quiet, but determined, nod of agreement from his multinational team. They knew they were fighting not just for survival, but for the future of the planet. Even the most desperate of their soldiers, broken and exhausted, refused to yield. In the face of annihilation, there was a fire in every human heart that refused to be extinguished. Meanwhile, in the heart of London, a group of hackers led by Naomi Carter was working to bring the fight into the digital realm. While the military tried to engage the alien ships in traditional combat, Carter and her team focused on hacking the alien communication network. They learned to intercept signals, even reverse engineer some of the aliens' rudimentary software. The goal was simple: to buy humanity time and disrupt the invaders' coordination. One evening, as the team celebrated a small victory, successfully crippling an alien communications hub, they received a strange transmission. It was a coded message, one that didn't come from their own team but from someone or something else. The message was cryptic, but one phrase stood out above the rest: "You are not alone." The meaning of those words was unclear, but Carter felt a chill run down her spine. Could there be other forces in the galaxy who opposed the aliens? The message seemed to suggest that the invasion wasn't just a conquest of Earth. It was part of something much larger, something that humanity was yet to understand. But for now, the resistance could not afford distractions. They had to focus on the task at hand: survive. No one knew exactly what would happen next, but one thing was certain: if humanity was going to have any hope of fighting back, it would be on their own terms, in ways the invaders never expected. As Earth's defenders gathered in hidden bunkers, small enclaves, and secret laboratories, the weight of their mission was clear. The aliens had thought they could crush humanity easily, but they had underestimated the one thing that would become their downfall: the sheer unpredictability of human resilience. With each passing day, the resistance grew. And as it did, the aliens began to feel an unsettling sense of doubt. Earth wasn't as broken as they'd thought. It was fighting back, and this fight was far from over. With each passing day, the alien occupation grew more oppressive. Yet, amid the devastation, something extraordinary was happening. Humanity was not just surviving. It was learning, adapting, and fighting back. Resistance movements across the world began to coalesce, their forces scattered yet more organized than ever before. They now had a singular goal: drive the invaders off Earth. Dr. Mai Tanaka's work had become the centerpiece of humanity's counteroffensive. Her research on the alien technology, which had once seemed impenetrable, was yielding results. Her team had successfully engineered a prototype weapon designed to neutralize the alien fleet's primary energy source, a strange, volatile substance used to power their ships and weapons. The weapon was crude, a far cry from the precision of alien technology, but it was humanity's first real victory in the war. A daring mission was launched to test the new weapon. A coalition of resistance fighters, led by General Corbin, infiltrated an alien facility hidden deep beneath the surface of the Amazon rainforest. It was a risky operation, one that could easily end in disaster. But the stakes were too high, and for the first time, hope was on the horizon. The goal was simple: plant the new weapon in the heart of the alien base and trigger a chain reaction that would disable their fleet's energy systems. It was a gamble, but it was humanity's only chance. The mission team, comprised of elite soldiers and scientists, made their way through the jungle under the cover of darkness, stealthily avoiding alien patrols. As they neared the facility, tension hummed thick in the air. They were close now, too close to fail. Their plan was simple: infiltrate, plant the device, and get out before the alien forces could react. When they finally breached the outer perimeter of the alien base, it was eerily quiet. The usual hum of alien activity had been silenced, as though the invaders were aware of the threat. The resistance fighters moved quickly, planting the device deep within the power core of the facility. As the device hummed to life, a sense of unease crept over them. The weapon was active, but there was no turning back now. The countdown began. In a matter of minutes, the alien base erupted into chaos. Explosions ripped through the compound, throwing soldiers and equipment into the air. The weapon had worked beyond expectations, causing a massive cascade failure in the alien fleet's power grid. Ships in orbit above Earth flickered and faltered, unable to maintain their defensive shields or weapon systems. The resistance fighters made their escape, narrowly avoiding detection, but the damage was done. As the weapon's effects rippled through the alien fleet, a sense of disbelief spread across their command structure. For the first time, the invaders were forced to retreat. Their once unstoppable war machine had been crippled. The aliens, caught off guard by the sheer unpredictability of humanity's ingenuity, were left scrambling to recalibrate their strategy. However, as the resistance celebrated their first major victory, they were confronted by a stark realization. The battle was far from over. While the alien fleet was now on the defensive, there were still billions of invaders on the ground. Entrenched in human cities and military strongholds, Earth was far from free. The aliens would not simply give up. They would adapt and strike back with even greater force. But something had changed. The fear that once gripped humanity's heart had started to dissipate. Earth had struck back, unexpectedly, ruthlessly, and effectively. The tide had turned, and the aliens now knew they had underestimated Earth's most dangerous asset, the will to fight. As reports came in from all corners of the globe, it became clear that the resistance was not a single spark. It was a fire that was spreading. Humanity, united by the singular desire to protect their home, was no longer the weak prey the invaders had believed it to be. The war was no longer just about survival. It was about victory. The aliens had underestimated humanity, and that mistake would cost them everything. The victory over the alien fleet's power grid should have been a moment of triumph for Earth's defenders. But it quickly became apparent that the war was far from over. The aliens, enraged by their first significant defeat, regrouped and launched a terrifying counterattack. They were not just attacking Earth, they were annihilating it. The retaliation was swift and merciless. Alien ships, now reinforced with backup technology from their homeworld, rained down fire upon the remaining human strongholds. Cities that had already been decimated by the initial invasion were struck again, this time with even more destructive power. Whole regions of the planet were turned into barren wastelands. The alien forces were no longer playing by the rules. They were out for total domination. In the midst of the chaos, the Resistance's hope began to crumble. The vast alien fleet now seemed unstoppable, and their brutal tactics showed no mercy. Earth's forces had taken a heavy toll, and while their last victory had been a glimmer of hope, the alien reprisal shattered any illusions of a quick resolution. General Corbin, now one of humanity's most respected military leaders, watched helplessly as another key resistance base was overrun. His team had fought valiantly, but the sheer numbers of the alien invaders were overwhelming. The resistance was losing ground, and with every battle, the cost grew higher. The remnants of the Earth's armed forces were scattered, trying to regroup but constantly harried by alien patrols and relentless bombardments. In one particularly devastating attack, an alien warship managed to penetrate the planet's last line of defense, an orbital station designed to protect Earth's surface. The ship released a new type of weapon, one that could disable entire military sectors with a single pulse. In seconds, hundreds of soldiers were lost, and key human resources were wiped out in an instant. It was then that a painful realization settled over the resistance. They had underestimated the depth of the aliens' technological superiority. The aliens had begun to use biological warfare, unleashing engineered viruses that ravaged entire populations in days. What had once been a simple invasion had become a war of attrition. The longer humanity held out, the higher the toll would be. As Corbin sat in the ruins of a once thriving military base, surrounded by survivors, a haunting silence fell over them. The survivors knew what was at stake. With the alien forces slowly gaining control, Corbin realized that the Resistance's tactics needed to change. Quickly. They couldn't afford to lose more lives. Humanity's survival was hanging by a thread, and desperation was beginning to sink in. And then, in the midst of despair, a voice broke through. It was Naomi Carter, the hacker who had first discovered the encrypted message. "You are not alone." She had managed to decode another part of the alien communications network, and what she uncovered sent chills down everyone's spine. There were others. Other factions, alien factions, who had long opposed the invaders and were waiting for the right moment to strike. But there was a catch. These alien factions weren't altruistic. They were not coming to Earth's rescue out of kindness. They had their own agendas, their own motives. The Resistance was forced into a dangerous decision, to ally with the very aliens who had once been enemies. The stakes had grown higher. It was no longer about merely surviving. It was about making alliances that could tip the balance in their favor, no matter the cost. The consequences of this alliance were unclear. Would the new alien faction help, or would they turn on humanity once the invaders were gone? It was a risk, one that could either lead to humanity's salvation or its destruction. In the aftermath of the devastating counterattack, humanity's resolve was shaken, but it had not broken. They had paid a heavy price, but in the darkest of moments, they had uncovered a possible path forward. The Resistance now faced a critical choice: trust the unknown allies who had offered to help or face annihilation on their own. The price of the next move would be higher than ever before, but humanity had no choice but to take it. The decision was made in the dead of night, far from the prying eyes of the alien forces that still patrolled Earth's decimated cities. With their backs to the wall, General Corbin convened with the remaining leaders of the Resistance in an underground bunker. The walls were cold, damp with the weight of the many lives lost, but the air inside crackled with an uneasy sense of hope. The choice had to be made. Would they accept the offer from the alien faction that had reached out to them, or would they continue the fight alone? Naomi Carter, who had uncovered the transmission from the rival alien faction, stood before the room, her face a mixture of uncertainty and resolve. "We have no idea who they are or what they want, but their technology could change the course of this war. We can't keep fighting with nothing but outdated weapons and desperation." General Corbin looked over the group, his mind racing. The aliens they were dealing with, the ones who had come to Earth, had not only decimated cities and taken millions of lives, but had also proven they could adapt and strike back harder than any force humanity had faced. But this new alien faction, the ones who had sent the cryptic message, were unknown. There was no telling if they were simply waiting for the right moment to strike, or if they had genuinely seen the atrocities committed by the invaders and wanted to help. But with the Resistance fractured and scattered, every day bringing more losses, Corbin knew they didn't have the luxury of time. "We don't have a choice," he muttered. "We need help, no matter who it comes from." The room fell silent, the weight of the decision heavy on all their shoulders. After a long pause, Dr. Mai Tanaka, who had been at the forefront of the fight, stepped forward. "If we do this," she said, her voice steady despite the uncertainty, "we risk everything. But if we don't, we lose everything. This is humanity's last chance." And so, with little more than a fragile thread of trust, Earth's defenders prepared to meet their potential alien allies. It was a dangerous gamble, an alliance formed out of desperation, not trust. The unknown faction was led by an enigmatic figure known only as Zoreth, a being of alien origins who had once fought the same invaders in an ancient war on their homeworld. Zoreth's message had been clear: help us destroy the invaders, and we will help you reclaim your world. Weeks passed as the resistance prepared for the meeting. The chosen location was remote, a small military outpost deep in the Siberian wilderness, a place untouched by the alien war machines. On the eve of the meeting, General Corbin, Dr. Tanaka, and Carter were among the few who ventured out to meet Zoreth's emissaries, hoping that this alliance would tip the scales in their favor. When they arrived, the scene was both surreal and unnerving. Standing before them were alien warriors unlike anything they had ever seen. They were humanoid in form, but their skin shimmered with an iridescent sheen, and their eyes glowed with an unnatural light. They were taller than humans, their movements graceful yet intimidating. Zoreth, the leader, stood before them, his presence imposing. He was clad in a suit of armor that seemed to pulse with energy. "We come not as conquerors, but as liberators," he said, his voice deep, resonating with an otherworldly echo. "Your enemies are my enemies, and together we can bring them down. But know this: you must trust us, and we must trust you. The cost will be great for both our peoples." The weight of his words hung in the air, and for a moment there was a palpable tension. But Corbin stepped forward, his expression resolute. "Trust is earned. If you want to help, we'll hold up our end of the bargain. But if you betray us, you will have nothing to fear." Zoreth interrupted, his eyes narrowing. "We have no intention of betraying your world. But remember, our goals are aligned for now, and only for now." And with that, the uneasy alliance was forged. As the Resistance and their new alien allies began to plan their next move, a new kind of fear began to take root. Fear of the unknown. While humanity had taken their first steps toward unity and survival, they were now walking a dangerous path, surrounded by forces that could turn on them at any moment. The Alliance had the potential to save Earth, but at what cost? And in the end, could the enemies of their enemies truly be trusted? The day of the final assault arrived, the moment humanity had waited for, the culmination of all the sacrifices, alliances, and preparations. Earth's remaining forces, now bolstered by Zoreth's alien faction, gathered at their respective posts, ready to strike back at the invaders with a ferocity they had never felt before. The ground was quiet, but the air was thick with anticipation. The sounds of warships preparing, soldiers running through their final checks, and last-minute communications filled the once silent base. Corbin stood at the command center, staring at the battle map projected in front of him. His team had worked tirelessly to develop strategies and contingencies, but now, all that remained was execution. Zoreth had promised that the alien forces would provide the firepower needed to cripple the invaders' command structure, but Corbin couldn't shake the feeling that something would go wrong. Dr. Tanaka approached, her brow furrowed with concern. "General, we're ready," she said, looking at the map. "But there's something I need to tell you. The alien technology, it's advanced, but it's unpredictable. Their weapons might not work the way we expect. If they fail, we won't have another chance." Corbin nodded grimly. "We don't have a choice. If we fail now, Earth is done. The aliens are prepared to obliterate every city, every military stronghold. We can't let that happen." He turned to the rest of the team, who were standing by, their faces etched with both determination and dread. "Listen up, everyone. This is our last stand. We fight for Earth, for every person we've lost, and for every person still alive. We fight because we have no other choice." As the final preparations were made, Naomi Carter's voice broke through the tension. "General," she said, "there's something you need to know. I've intercepted alien communications. There's a code embedded in their transmissions, something I've been trying to decode for days. I think it's a backup plan, something in case the invasion fails. If we don't stop them now, we might be walking into a trap." The room fell silent, the implications of Naomi's words hitting everyone like a ton of bricks. A backup plan. A last resort to ensure the invaders' victory. And now, after everything, the resistance was being led straight into it. Corbin's jaw clenched. How long until we can decode the rest of it? I'm not sure, Naomi replied. We might have a few minutes, maybe an hour at most, but I don't know if I'll be able to fully decrypt it in time. A sense of urgency settled over the command center. They could either go ahead with the plan, trusting their new allies and the information they had, or they could delay, risking the entire mission, and hope that Naomi could crack the code in time. But every minute they wasted was a minute the invaders could use to strengthen their position. Zorath's voice suddenly echoed in the room, startling everyone. General Corbin, we are ready. Our fleet is in position. We await your command. Corbin took a deep breath, weighing his options. He had already come too far to back down now. Initiate the attack, he ordered. We go forward with the plan. We strike hard and fast. Our chance is now. The alien warships in orbit above Earth released a barrage of energy beams that shattered the outer defenses of the invaders' command center. Below, the resistance fighters poured into enemy territory, utilizing every guerrilla tactic they had perfected over the last few months. With Zorath's faction providing superior weaponry and support, they were able to push deeper into the heart of the invaders' stronghold. The battle raged for hours. The alien invaders fought back with every resource at their disposal, launching counterattacks that decimated resistance forces. But they had underestimated the combined might of the human spirit and Zorath's superior firepower. For the first time, humanity seemed to have the upper hand, pushing the invaders into retreat. However, the invaders were resilient. They were far from defeated. Then, just as victory seemed within reach, the worst possible scenario unfolded. Naomi's earlier warning came true. The backup plan hidden in the invaders' transmission wasn't just a contingency, it was a doomsday weapon. The invaders activated it. A massive EMP pulse rippled across the battlefield, disabling every piece of technology, including Zorath's advanced weaponry. The battlefield descended into chaos as everything, communication systems, weapons, even the alien fleet, fell into silence. Human soldiers were left defenseless, scrambling to regain control of their now useless equipment. The invaders had adapted again, countering humanity's efforts with a devastating last-ditch strike. Corbin and his team raced to the front lines, knowing that without the support of their new alien allies, they would be crushed. It was clear now. The invaders had planned for everything. The Resistance's new advantage had been rendered useless in an instant. As the dust settled, Corbin stared at the battlefield, his heart sinking. We've been outsmarted, he muttered. It's not over, but it's damn close. The day of the final assault arrived, the moment humanity had waited for, the culmination of all the sacrifices, alliances, and preparations. Earth's remaining forces, now bolstered by Zorath's alien faction, gathered at their respective posts, ready to strike back at the invaders with a ferocity they had never felt before. The ground was quiet, but the air was thick with anticipation. The sounds of warships preparing, soldiers running through their final checks, and last-minute communications filled the once silent base. Corbin stood at the command center, staring at the battle map projected in front of him. His team had worked tirelessly to develop strategies and contingencies, but now, all that remained was execution. Zorath had promised that the alien forces would provide the firepower needed to cripple the invaders' command structure, but Corbin couldn't shake the feeling that something would go wrong. Dr. Tanaka approached, her brow furrowed with concern. "General, we're ready," she said, looking at the map. "But there's something I need to tell you. The alien technology. It's advanced, but it's unpredictable. Their weapons might not work the way we expect. If they fail, we won't have another chance." Corbin nodded grimly. "We don't have a choice. If we fail now, Earth is done. The aliens are prepared to obliterate every city, every military stronghold. We can't let that happen. He turned to the rest of the team, who were standing by, their faces etched with both determination and dread. "Listen up, everyone. This is our last stand. We fight for Earth, for every person we've lost, and for every person still alive. We fight because we have no other choice." As the final preparations were made, Naomi Carter's voice broke through the tension. "General," she said, "there's something you need to know. I've intercepted alien communications. There's a code embedded in their transmissions, something I've been trying to decode for days. I think it's a backup plan, something in case the invasion fails. If we don't stop them now, we might be walking into a trap." The room fell silent, the implications of Naomi's words hitting everyone like a ton of bricks. A backup plan, a last resort to ensure the invaders' victory. And now, after everything, the resistance was being led straight into it. Corbin's jaw clenched. "How long until we can decode the rest of it?" "I'm not sure," Naomi replied. "We might have a few minutes, maybe an hour at most. But I don't know if I'll be able to fully decrypt it in time." A sense of urgency settled over the command center. They could either go ahead with the plan, trusting their new allies and the information they had, or they could delay, risking the entire mission, and hope that Naomi could crack the code in time. But every minute they wasted was a minute the invaders could use to strengthen their position. Zorath's voice suddenly echoed in the room, startling everyone. "General Corbin, we are ready. Our fleet is in position. We await your command." Corbin took a deep breath, weighing his options. He had already come too far to back down now. "Initiate the attack," he ordered. "We go forward with the plan. We strike hard and fast. Our chance is now." The alien warships in orbit above Earth released a barrage of energy beams that shattered the outer defenses of the invaders' command center. Below, the resistance fighters poured into enemy territory, utilizing every guerrilla tactic they had perfected over the last few months. With Zorath's faction providing superior weaponry and support, they were able to push deeper into the heart of the invaders' stronghold. The battle raged for hours. The alien invaders fought back with every resource at their disposal, launching counterattacks that decimated resistance forces. But they had underestimated the combined might of the human spirit and Zorath's superior firepower. For the first time, humanity seemed to have the upper hand, pushing the invaders into retreat. However, the invaders were resilient. They were far from defeated. Then, just as victory seemed within reach, the worst possible scenario unfolded. Naomi's earlier warning came true. The backup plan hidden in the invaders' transmission wasn't just a contingency, it was a doomsday weapon. The invaders activated it. A massive EMP pulse rippled across the battlefield, disabling every piece of technology, including Zorath's advanced weaponry. The battlefield descended into chaos as everything, communication systems, weapons, even the alien fleet, fell into silence. Human soldiers were left defenseless, scrambling to regain control of their now useless equipment. The invaders had adapted again, countering humanity's efforts with a devastating last-ditch strike. Corbin and his team raced to the front lines, knowing that without the support of their new alien allies, they would be crushed. It was clear now, the invaders had planned for everything. The Resistance's new advantage had been rendered useless in an instant. As the dust settled, Corbin stared at the battlefield, his heart sinking. "We've been outsmarted," he muttered. "It's not over, but it's damn close." The battlefield was a chaotic mess of dust and debris, a testament to the ferocity of the fight. The invaders' doomsday weapon had crippled the Resistance's technology, and the alien fleet's devastating EMP pulse left Earth's last line of defense in disarray. The Resistance, once confident in their newfound advantage, now faced an uphill battle, their most powerful weapons rendered useless in an instant. The enemy had anticipated this, turning their final assault into a devastating trap. General Corbin stood on the front lines, his face grim as he watched the retreating soldiers. The noise of clashing weapons, cries of pain, and explosions from the wreckage all painted a bleak picture. For the first time in months, Earth's defenders felt the crushing weight of despair. "We've lost our weapons, our communications, everything," Naomi Carter said, her voice filled with frustration. "The alien technology we relied on, it's useless now. We're back to square one." But Corbin refused to let his team give in. He turned to face her, eyes filled with determination. "No, we're not done. They think they've won, but they haven't. They underestimate us, our will, our ingenuity. Humanity doesn't give up." Dr. Tanaka, who had been working frantically to salvage what little remained of their technology, stepped forward. "Corbin's right. We may have lost the advanced tech, but we still have one thing the invaders don't: our human spirit. They thought we would surrender after the first wave, that we would fold under the pressure of their overwhelming force. But we didn't. We're still standing." The survivors of the resistance rallied, pulling together in the face of overwhelming odds. They gathered in the remnants of a fallen resistance base, barricading themselves against the alien onslaught. While the alien forces regrouped, humanity began to adapt. They returned to their roots: guerrilla tactics, resourcefulness, and sheer willpower. Even without the technology that had once seemed so critical, the humans began to fight like they never had before. Corbin issued orders to fall back into hidden bunkers, and Naomi took charge of re-establishing communication using old analog methods, something no invader could anticipate. It was a race against time, but they were using the enemy's overconfidence against them. The remaining fighters set traps, created ambushes, and sabotaged enemy lines. The alien invaders, who had expected a quick and easy victory, were now caught in a relentless series of surprises. Every time they thought they had gained ground, the resistance struck back with a new tactic, a new trick. It wasn't the advanced alien tech that would save Earth. It was humanity's adaptability and refusal to be crushed that would tip the balance. Meanwhile, Zoreth's faction, who had been in hiding after the EMP attack, reached out to the resistance once again. But this time, it was not with their weapons. It was with a different kind of help. Zoreth had grown frustrated with the invaders' tactics, and seeing humanity's resilience, he realized that the only way to win this war was not through overwhelming force, but through unity. It was not just about defeating the invaders. It was about showing the invaders that they had underestimated their enemy. "General," Zoreth's voice came through, calm but determined. "We cannot rely on technology alone. Your people have demonstrated something the invaders lack: strength of will. We will stand with you in the final charge. This time, we will fight together as equals. We will break them." The alien fleet, still under Zoreth's command, re-entered the battlefield, this time not with destructive weaponry but with precision. Zoreth's faction provided support, but they left the final push to the humans. Zoreth understood that the true strength of this war was not in their technology, but in the heart of the human fighters. The Resistance's final stand was nothing short of legendary. Soldiers, wounded but unyielding, pushed forward. With no advanced weapons, they relied on their instincts, teamwork, and ingenuity. They fought in the shadows, turned every destroyed structure into a weapon, and used the terrain to their advantage. Humanity had become something the invaders could no longer predict, an unpredictable force of nature. The invaders, slowly beginning to buckle under the relentless pressure, realized too late that they had underestimated humanity's ability to adapt and fight with nothing but their will. They had thought they could break Earth's spirit, but instead, they had forged something far stronger: a burning resolve to reclaim what had been taken from them. After days of brutal combat, the invaders' command center finally fell. The Resistance's fighters surged into the heart of the alien stronghold, overwhelming the invaders with one last, powerful strike. With no more alien reinforcements and their communications cut off, the invaders began to crumble. They had miscalculated. They had underestimated the one thing that made humanity so dangerous: the unyielding spirit to fight and survive. In the aftermath of the battle, as the dust settled and the skies began to clear, Corbin stood amidst the remnants of the war-torn battlefield. Earth had been scared, its people broken, but the invaders were gone. The price had been high. Countless lives lost, cities destroyed, but humanity had won. Zorath approached, standing beside Corbin as the last of the invader forces were driven off. "It is done," he said, his voice filled with respect. "Your people have shown strength that even I could not have predicted." Corbin looked out over the horizon, a quiet but resolute pride in his heart. "We've lost so much, but we're still here. That's something they'll never take from us." And with that, humanity's final stand had ended. The war was over. Earth had triumphed. But the scars of the battle would remain, a reminder of the price of victory and the power of human resilience.